I'm Lee Spencer with RacingBoys.com. I am joined by Noah Gragson, and um, you've really come a long way over the last year with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Can you just give us a little background as far as what you've been able to glean from the Truck Series and how you expect to take the knowledge into the Xfinity Series next year?
I feel like the biggest thing coming in is a West Coast kid who is very, enthusiastic, I guess you could say. I have a pretty bold personality, and I'm definitely not afraid to show that. I think the biggest thing is that I've learned, obviously, a lot of stuff on the racetrack and getting better every single weekend. But most importantly, I think it helps both on and off the racetrack. It's just somewhat of that growing up maturity phase that, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit later than some, but I don't know, I feel like everyone really has one shot at this, and I want to enjoy it while I do. I definitely have to keep working hard, and I feel like we've done that, and so I've had to change a lot up with my personal life, just with scheduling and waking up early every single morning, just being on a more strict schedule for myself. I feel like that works best for me, more structured. So, I don't know, just learning when I'm on and off the racetrack is a big thing, and what the things I need to focus on when I'm at the racetrack, and when it's time for business, it's time for business. And I feel like the second half of the season, we've been doing a lot better job at that, and I think it's been showing.
You were basically still in high school when you started, getting into the NASCAR ranks. How does that change your perspective of how you look at things? Because most of the kids your age, they're out, partying, having a good time. You really can't do that because it takes away. It's a distraction if you're not 110% focused on racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never been – I missed out in high school. I went to regular high school my freshman and my sophomore year, and then I started getting into the NASCAR K&N Pro Series in my sophomore year, and having to travel a lot more. And so even before that, racing legend cars, we'd race 65, 70 races a year in legend cars, and so that's a lot. That's almost every single weekend. And so I'd miss a lot of fun high school kid things you would do in high school. You go out with your friends to the football game, or you go bowling, or you go hang out at a buddy's house or whatnot. I never really felt like I got the opportunity to do that, but at the same time, I was getting to do what I loved on the weekends, and that was racing. And so after my freshman and sophomore year of high school, going to regular high school, I started traveling a lot more, and school started becoming a lot more difficult, and I had to start putting more time into the racing. And so I transitioned over to online school, and I started doing online school, and that enabled me to really learn when I had the time. I felt like I didn't really have much time to learn when I was going to regular high school, so I picked up my grades up to all A's. So my second 2 years of high school, I had a 4.0, and I actually started enjoying school. I never really enjoyed school before that. I was always the kid, and I think with that one-on-one kind of atmosphere of online school, not to get off topic, but that just really helped me to stay focused. And so that could also allow me to focus on racing my junior and senior year of high school. And so doing that my senior year of high school was the end of that year. I started racing in the Truck Series, so I was still living in Las Vegas for the first half of the 2017 season, traveling back and forth from Vegas out to the shop, and there was a few times where the seat insert didn't turn out the way we needed it to, and 8 a.m. in the morning I get a phone call, and I'm on a flight by 12, scheduling it right there to get out to North Carolina to pour new insert later that night. And just a lot of different things that happened, and so it was kind of a struggle going from out there out to the East Coast and back, but now I'm in North Carolina. So as a younger kid, going back to your question, as a younger kid growing up through the ranks, and it's something I've always loved, and I feel like my passion for racing overrides everything else that you would normally do as a teenager, early 20s kind of guy,
You mentioned Sin City, and it has become a hotbed for racing. I mean, there's a huge car culture out in Las Vegas, but when you look at the Busch brothers coming here and the road they paved to NASCAR, and Brendan Gaughan and Spencer Gallagher, and you're kind of like the fifth guy along that line. And did those guys kind of make it easier for you as far as people looking at Las Vegas as potentially a place where young racers really can make a name for themselves and then find their way to North Carolina to go stock car racing?
Yeah, I think it's definitely different than your normal race car driver. Look at Todd Gilliland or Harrison Burton. Their fathers did that. So for me, I'm a first-generation racer. I know Kyle and Kurt, they're both first-generation. Well, their dad raced a little bit, but nothing in the Cup Series or NASCAR Series or anything like that. And Spencer Gallagher's a first-generation racer. So with that being said, racing, it's still very popular on the West Coast. It's just different. Not as many people do it. But that doesn't mean there's not as good of drivers on the West Coast. I feel like we have some of the best drivers in all of stock car racing on the West Coast. I mean, you look at Derek Thorne, Greg Pursley, Ryan Partridge, Dylan Kwasniewski, guys like that, where I really looked up to them going up through the K&N Series ranks and stuff like that. Dustin, like a lot of guys like that who might not have that opportunity to make it to the top, but there's still a lot of talent on the West Coast. So going back to looking at Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland, I feel like it's just, for me, something that I didn't grow up in the garage. So I'm learning as I go. I can't sit down at the dinner table with my dad, and I'm still trying to teach him what being loose or being tight is after me racing 5 or 6 years now, where those guys can sit down and say, hey, Dad, what do you think in turns 1 and 2 at Phoenix? What do you think my car needs to be handling like that? And so with that experience that they're able to lean on, I think that's very, very beneficial. But there's also cons to that as well. So for me, I'm in a position where I'm learning as I go, and surrounding myself with a very good group of people so far in my career. And so even from racing Bandoleros to Legend Cars to the K&N Series to now, I've been with great groups of people, and so everybody who has helped me has been really a big part of me getting to this point in my career.
And what you have had at the top ranks is probably the best mentor any young driver could ask for, and that would be your team owner, Kyle Busch. Everybody that comes through there, whether it's Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, they all compliment Kyle as being such a great leader and teacher. What is the biggest thing you've learned from Kyle over the 2 years that you've been there, and perhaps what is something that from the outside looking in that most people don't realize about Kyle Busch?
Well, first off, Kyle Busch Motorsports, it's Kyle, he puts a lot of time and effort into the race team, and I don't know if you have that as hands-on of approach with other teams. And so I think that's a good thing, because we get to race against, he's a Cup Series champion. We get to race against him 4, 5, 6 times a year. And so for a young driver like me who's trying to learn, you're not going to be able to learn against the best if you don't race the best. So that's why it's a big and good experience for a young driver like myself who's never been through any of this, is I'm leaning on one of the best. So he's very hands-on, and he's a guy that you can go and ask questions to, but it sometimes becomes a little tricky because you have to know the questions to ask. He won't typically come to you and tell you what you're doing wrong. You have to know. So that's kind of where you can get a little tricky, but overall it's really good, and he's a very dedicated guy to the Truck Series. It's not just his name on the building. He's in the competition meetings on Monday and wanting to know how we can all grow together and get better.
You're kind of following a similar path to William Byron, who cut his teeth over in trucks at Kyle Busch, but then moved on to JRM. The announcement might have caught people a little bit off guard. I mean, there's not a lot of room at the top at the Toyota as far as Toyota goes on the Cup side. But Chevrolet, there's still a lot of opportunity for young drivers. Is that one of the reasons that you decided to make the switch to JRM?
Yeah, I definitely think just the limit of drivers and seats available over at Toyota was definitely the reason why we looked elsewhere, and that's not knocking Toyota. They have done they continue to do, and they've done a fantastic job at looking at young talent. I wouldn't be in the position I am racing with Busch Motorsports if it wasn't for Toyota. So I'm very thankful for them taking a leap and to go out of their way to do what they've done to me, for their support. And so, but yeah, I mean, racing's a business. They know that. Before the deal got announced, I talked with a couple of the head guys at Toyota, Dave Wilson, Tyler Gibbs, Jack Irving. I mean, those three guys have played a big part of my Truck Series career. And so they told me, they said, listen, we'd love to have you. It's just it's not possible. There's guys already ahead in line of me, which I respect. I understand that, and so that gives a new path of opportunity for me elsewhere. And I feel like once I'm in the Toyota family, I'll always be in the Toyota family. I mean, it's just a great group over there, and now it's time to expand the horizon and move over to the Chevrolet side. I think after Homestead, that's when things start to become a lot more clear on what's going to be put in for next year. But right now it's just focused on Phoenix, trying to do the best job I can do, hopefully move on to the next round in the playoffs, Final Four at Homestead. And I know everybody works really hard, including myself, to get to that point. So I'm just focused on right now in the moment, and then if we do our jobs, everything will take care of itself.
You had a really fast truck in morning practice. What are your expectations for tonight at Phoenix?
I feel like most places, I want to win. I feel like I have a contending truck for the win, and I say I wouldn't be happy without anything else than a win at most places. But I don't know if, not from a cocky side, I just feel extremely confident in my race team and my Tundra, and that goes back to just the team communication with my crew chief Rudy Fugel and the rest of the guys. I feel like we're bonding and we're meshing together the best that we ever have right now. I think that's why that speed shows. So I'm very confident in the speed in our Safelite Autoglass Toyota Tundra. I'm confident in my race team, and I'm confident with my own ability on this racetrack. I really enjoy Phoenix or ISM Raceway. So it's a lot of fun, and I feel like my driving style is good for this racetrack. So all those things combined, I think that puts a lot of confidence in my mind and motivation to go out there and get the job done. And so I don't know. Points, we're 18 points to the good for the next round. This is a cutoff race. But really, if you can stay up front, which is my main objective tonight, hopefully that's the easiest thing you could do. I mean, it's obviously easier said than done, but all you got to do is lead all the laps and win the race, and then you're golden, right? So that's really the main thing I'm focused on right now, is staying up front.
And if you get to Homestead, what are your thoughts of that track? I mean, clearly with Busch Motorsports, they've gone in there and won so many times, won the championship so many times. You're going up, at least we know right now you're going up against some hardcore veterans, particularly Johnny Sauter. And I would think, I'm guessing maybe, Moffitt will have a shot at getting in there. Haley's already locked in. Where do you see yourself matching up against those three?
I feel like with the amount of preparation that we've already started on a month ago with simulation and myself learning that racetrack and trying different things and learning different setups, and we've been putting in a lot of work. It started 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, and so I feel like with all that preparation before a race, we're going to be the team to beat. Obviously, we don't know until we get down there. But I know my guys have been working really hard and preparing a fast, safe, light autoglass Toyota Tundra. I'm in the shop just picking Rudy's brain as much as I can. We're at Toyota Racing Development Simulator as much as we can be, trying to prepare and just run through all those situations, all those scenarios, and just trying to be as prepared as we can. I feel like it's better to be prepared for an opportunity that you might not have than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So we're definitely over prepared, and we're still going to keep on working hard and learning as much as we can after this race. And we're going to go on to Homestead with one job and one goal in mind. Hopefully, if everything works out here in Phoenix, and I don't know, hopefully it'll be all roses and checker flags and champagne.
Well, we wish
cider for me. Apple cider, because I'm not 21.
Well, we wish you the best this weekend, and if you get to Homestead, and congratulations on a great run with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Can't wait to see what you do in the Xfinity Series.
Thank you.